What is up, guys? Welcome to another edition of the Week Roundup. I'm your host, Jake Friel, also accompanied by Chuck Moranin,
I don't know what
Jimmy
we're doing.
Smith, Trey Thomas, and Steve Rochelle. As always, got a jam-packed
I
show.
really
obviously.
can't hear you guys.
Okay. And excuse me.
Hello.
Can you hear us, Trey?
Can you hear me, Trey?
Can you hear
Trey
us?
seems to be having some
No.
audio issues.
Yeah, we're having some technical issues. But before we get into it, obviously with our interview with Trey Thomas, got a jam-packed show. Going to be kicking off interviewing Trey
Hey,
Thomas.
man, I can't hear you guys.
now.
Is it?
Hello.
I don't know if it would be anything on our end. I think because I can hear everyone else. Is it something with your sound?
Might be something with the sound,
Hello.
possibly. Can you hear us, Trey?
Hear us yet? Apologies, fellas.
I'm
Yeah,
trying
sorry
to-
about this, guys. Some technical difficulties.
There we go.
You hear us, Trey?
Can you hear us now?
Can you hear us now, Trey?
Yo.
The life
Trey,
of live
try hitting
shows
the-
and technical issues. Why?
Ralph, try bringing him out and bringing him back in.
Sorry about that, guys.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. Just some technical difficulties on either our end or Trey's end. But obviously, we'll be kicking off interviewing Trey Thomas, and also we'll be talking about the Eagles' O-line depth, just questions, potential concerns that we have for the future. And obviously, that's why Trey Thomas is here today, due to the topic of the show. Later on, after our interview, we'll be talking about just potential fans at football stadiums. They're talking about yesterday. Jacksonville's considering bringing fans in at 25% capacity. The Ravens are talking about it as well. That'll be discussion. But before we get into that, word from our sponsor. We are brought to you by our doc, Make 'em Yours, Dr. Paul Vidal, Specialized Physical Therapy, LLC, Burlington, Cherry Hill, and Princeton locations. Find them on the web, specializedphysicaltherapy.com. And our poll question is also brought to you by Ambuck Services, AMBUCK Services.com. Call Michael Ambrose, tell him A2D sent you. Get yourself 20% off gutters, gutter guards, gutter restoration, anything you need done outside your house. They got you covered. Call Michael Ambrose. Go to Ambuck Services, AMBUCK Services.com. The poll question, the Eagles have reliable depth, at the O-line. Agree or disagree?
Who wants to kick this one off? I'll go to disagree, man. Like as
Okay.
much as we love our guys, right? We got our guy up the middle. We got Kelsey. We got Lane, but then we got a bunch of questionables right now with big guy coming down, big cat busting out his Achilles, and the right side of the line. We don't know what we have yet with Andre Dillard, and for a while, we've been talking about that left guard position as something they need to kind of shore up. So I'll say, as of right now, the depth of the offensive line would not be one of our strong points.
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear us now, Trey?
You hear
I
us
got
now,
you
Trey?
Yeah,
All right,
I can
awesome.
hear you now. I got you.
Hey,
All right, cool.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Oh, yeah, so what's going on, man? So what you guys got going on?
Just talking about the Eagles O-line, potential concerns for the future, possibly potential depth concerns. That's obviously why we brought you on today.
Yeah. So, yeah, there are some depth concerns there. You had to try to figure out what's going to happen. You need Matt Pryor to come in and really hold it down at right guard, with Brandon Brooks going down. And then right now, you're also leaning on Dillard. You trusting Dillard to come back the right way. So, Coach Stoutland has his hands full this year, and especially coming off of all this without any preseason games, with a limited amount of time when it comes to like even all of this virtual training. You really haven't had a chance to really put your hands on your guys. So this is going to be a challenge this year.
Yeah, absolutely. And my question for you, Trey, obviously with Jason Peters no longer here and Andre Dillard basically pretty much going to be the starter this year, how confident are you in Andre Dillard taking over for Jason Peters at left tackle?
I watched this game. I thought that Dillard definitely got better as the season went on. You know, he had to get back to what he knew how to do. Like when you saw him start punching, he started getting a little bit better. He started playing with a little bit more confidence. But when he was out there catching the first part of the season, he was out there trying to do these little double underhand hooks where you're more positioning your hands and you're taking on a blow. So you sit out there and you take a good set, but if you don't deliver a blow, then you're going to be susceptible to bull rushes. And then once that started happening, then now you're going to get hit with games. So you can see that, you know, by the Chicago game, I started seeing a totally different person. You seen like he was starting to get back to shooting his hands, taking the right set. And a lot of people don't understand like that set, the type of set you take and how you work your hands is a big deal when it comes to protection, especially at tackle. If you're setting at a 45 and you don't make contact by your second kick, then your outside step has to open and it creates a lane to the quarterback. So there's a lot that has to happen out there. You need to be watching film and breaking it down and making sure that he understands when to take that set and when not to take that set, and definitely needs to understand when to shoot his hands.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously we're talking about the young guys at the offensive line. I have another question for you as well. How important is it for these young guys to have just develop under a coach as important as Coach Stoutland?
It's extremely important. I mean, you need to have somebody out there that's going to teach you this game. It's going to really teach you the position, especially when you're a young talent. You know, this is you know, most of the time it's been like Jason Peters is a vet. He already kind of was set in his ways. So now here's a guy that you can kind of mold and kind of show them, all right, look, this is how I want you to play. This is because now you're putting your fingerprint on it. You wasn't putting your fingerprint on JP. JP wasn't, he was already developed. Now you have somebody that's going to show, okay, what's your development like as a coach and when it comes to these players?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And before I transition you over to Chuck Smaranen, just a quick question on some of our our actual draft picks. Have you done any film study on Jack Driscoll or Prince Tega Wanogho? And if so, what is your takeaway from them, and what do you like?
I watched a little bit of it when they first got drafted, but then after that, I kind of let it go because now it doesn't really matter. You know, all of that is, you know, behind you. You know, I think that both of them were they were solid tackles. You know, I think Jack. You know, I think if I had to say which one two would be your swing tackle, I would say Prince, just because when I saw him play, you could see him. He was a left tackle, but then when he went over to the right tackle, he switched stances and went to a right-handed stance. When Jack came over to the left, he didn't switch stance. He kind of stayed in a right-handed stance on the left side, and you know that ain't gonna happen. Not on this level. You know, you never see anybody do that. So you saw that Prince has the ability to be able to switch which position he wants and get his stance the right way. And I thought that he did a good job with his sets. He knew when to shoot hands a little bit, but you know, it's all sharpening the blade. Now, what you did in college doesn't matter anymore. This is a totally different animal when you get to this level.
Truth.
Hey,
so that's why I don't really
Chuck.
spend a lot of time watching their college stuff, because it's like, all right, you know, yeah, we'll see you in preseason. Well, you won't have preseason now, so you know, I don't know when you're gonna see you. You know, we're gonna have to just figure it out.
Yeah. Hey, what's going on, Trey?
Right.
Chuck's over here. Can you hear me first and foremost?
Yeah, I got you.
Perfect. Well, first of all, thank you so much for coming on with us. I want to first also say that I would love your videos on YouTube, the Trench Talk videos. I follow it whenever they come out. One of the first things I always follow, because as someone who watches tape, vividly, avidly, you know, the way you break down O-line is very, very educational. So I appreciate that. And with O-line,
I appreciate that. Okay, now listen. All right. I'm gonna ask you a question then. All right. So which side, when it comes to slide protection and it's passing strength, let's say passing strength is to the left, which side is man and which side is slide?
Man is right side.
Man is right side. There you go.
There you
See,
go.
that's what I'm talking about. All right. So slide side is going to be left. Okay. So which side is your running back going to be on?
He's going to be on he's dual read usually on the middle linebacker on the right side.
Damn it. That's my job is done. That's all I want to know. That's all I want to know.
That's what I'm saying.
What I'm talking about, you really picking up on it. You know what I'm saying? Because that's why I do it. You got to understand this. If you really wanted to learn this game, because don't sit up there and just say, oh, man, he just got beat. No, there was a reason. What happened? There's a plan for every play out there. What happened? So now if you can understand, the rules of protection, and then you can understand, all right, this man is side, this side is man. Which side would you bring your blitzes to? You know, when you can start understanding that, then now you're starting to talk about something. You can really understand this game.
Absolutely.
All
And
right.
hey, man, that's why I love your stuff. You break it down very, like, with the visuals and everything. You break it down very well.
Mhm.
So I do appreciate that. For my first question, you in one of your videos, the first video, you broke down Andre Dillard, and you mentioned how him and Lane, you notice that they have this technique with their hands where they drop
Yeah.
and then they go into their punch. Now, from your observations and expertise, are there any other things that pop out at you that Coach Stoutland, you can tell Coach Stoutland teaches? Is there anything that you agree with that you can tell he teaches to these linemen, or anything else that you think you disagree on, you would teach differently?
I think he does a really good job when it comes to run blocking. You know, the run blocking schemes, the mate blocking, combination blocks, getting up to the linebackers and stuff like that. But I think that when it comes to protection, that's where you kind of start to see a couple things where I'm like, wait a minute, you know, yeah, just from what I see, from a lot of what I talk about is what Juan taught me, but then it's just going out there and having to go through it. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's something to be said about having to, you know, work your way through it and actually work the technique and understand what you're talking about, because now you can really go back and tell them, look, this is exactly how it should feel. I can give you as much as I can, but you're going to have to experience it. So I think that at times, you know, I think that he does a really good job when it comes to the run blocking, mate blocking, and stuff like that. I think sometimes they get spread it a little too thin when it comes to some of those combination blocks, and I would much rather them say, all right, you know what, check that. The defense has it out, figured out. Let's black over and try to kind of work the angles a little differently that way. But when it comes to protection, that's why I see some weaknesses when it's like, all right, you know what, you have these guys out here with the double underhand hooks where you have them catching. You know, as a tackle, you want to be aggressive. You want to get to a certain point. You want to punch. And everybody, you can't set everybody at a 45. You know what I'm saying? And if you're going to set it at 45, okay, so when it comes to pass setting, you got vertical and 45 sets, all right? So 45 is setting out that 45 angle, vertical is straight back, as you know. But you have to be careful when you say, all right, I'm going to set at a 45, because now you're creating space between you and the guard. So if you create space between you and the guard, then that means that your technique better be tight, because you're going to get all kinds of games. Here, they're going to give you a stunt. And if you don't make contact at the right step, then you're going to drop your outside foot, and it's going to shorten the corner for the quarterback. So, you know, that's where I start seeing, like, all right, you know, maybe try to change that up a little bit. But, you know, I think that at the end of the day, a Super Bowl winning coach. And all you can say is, man, hey, job well done.
Yeah, absolutely. And you had also mentioned something like that you prefer vertical sets over 45 sets. And something I had learned from scouts when I was in the scouting academy is that with vertical sets, it's a very tough technique to teach for offensive tackles. And there aren't a lot of, you know, tackles in the game today that really perfect it, Jason Peters being one of them. Now, what advice do you give young tackles, or even anyone out there in the pros that are trying to nail that technique down when it comes to vertical setting?
Okay, so I think that you should be able to work both based off, because now, as the way I watch the game and when I study defensive end and I study pass rush, I feel like you should be able to say, you know what, if I'm on the slide side of this, I can't be as aggressive as a tackle here because they might bring that nickel out there. So, you know what, I might want to go vertical here, you know. And now saying that, you know, a lot of people think that because you're vertical setting, it's because it makes you weak. It puts you in the lap of the quarterback. But if you understand how to count steps and you understand how to shoot hands, then now that evens the playing field a little bit. But if you get your ass out there grabbing and you come with them double underhand hooks with these defensive ends that going to come with the bull rush, they're going to put you in the quarterback lap. You know what I'm saying? And then now you start getting with hit games and all that other stuff. So I think that you should be able to mix it up based off of what the defense is presenting and also what the play is. And you need to understand how on that quarterback is going to get rid of the ball. Back in the day, Juan would always kind of have us look at, if it was a 5 or 7 step drop, we had to learn the routes because we would know, all right, you know what, if he gets to 5, the ball should be gone. You kind of understand where you need to have the depth of the pocket.
Got it. No, that makes perfect sense. And then now for my last question before I hand it over to the next guy, you know, historically, including back even when you played, the left tackle position was always looked at as like the premier spot on the offensive line because, you know, you were protecting the blind side of the QB usually. And then that's where most of the premier pass rushers lined up. Now in today's game, there's so many defensive players that move, and the right tackle position has become even more important. So, what is your input on the evolution of the offensive tackle position in regard to that? And how important do you think it is for young offensive tackles to know how to play both sides, both left and right?
I think that, coming out of college, you should kind of teach them how to play both sides, because a lot of times they get stuck in it and, they don't understand how to switch. But, because you saw that with Dillard when he came in, they put him out there at right tackle. But let's see, how do I want to answer this question? I think that when it comes to this, when it comes to teaching them the vertical set, what was your question again? Let me, because I kind of got a little caught.
Yeah. For how important is it for young offensive tackles to know how to play both left and right, considering how things have changed in the game today with defensive players moving on both sides?
Okay, with the speed everywhere with both rushes. That's right. You know what? When you look at that, all right, because now it used to be back in the day, back when I first started out, you had your Derek Thomases, you had your Chad Browns, you had your Bruce Smiths. They all played over the left tackles because they were the speed rushers. Your Dwight Freeney's, they're your speed rushers. And then, you had your Reggie Whites, Michael Strahans, and all of that. They were over there on the right side of the ball. They were your power rushers. The guys that's going to give you the bull rush and all of that. You need that tackle to be able to sit down on some heavier guys. Okay, so now you fast forward to Javon Kearse coming in the league when he's in Tennessee. You know what? Who was Washburn did there? He took Javon Kearse and put him over a right tackle, and you put a speed rusher over a tackle that only been dealing with power rush. And man, Javon Kearse set the a sack record as a rookie. I think was a high sacks as a rookie his rookie year, going up against right tackles. You know what I'm saying? Because he's kind of changed the game. Now you're making it where, okay, speed is everywhere. So you better make sure your right tackle can pass it just as well as your left tackle. Because, now you got your Von Millers over there. They're everywhere. Everybody floats around. And then you mess around and you start getting in some of these odd fronts, especially when you look at how New England plays, where they might have only one defensive lineman down there. But, hell, you got about 3-4 guys out there with 50 numbers on it. All of them can play linebacker and drop into coverage, and all of them can blitz. So, you got to be tight, and you have to understand where the pressure is going to be coming. You have to be tight with when to shoot hands, when to count steps, when to make contact. You have to be just as sharp as the left tackle.
Thank you, Trey. Appreciate that.
All right, Jimmy, you're up.
Hey, what's going on, Trey? I just want to thank you for coming on today.
Yeah, no problem, man. Y'all messing all right, man. You know what I'm saying? Like once a year, I pick a day and I head south, and I just load up my truck, gas up my truck, man, and I just shoot down to Florida. And so today was the day. And so I was like, you know what, man, let me just pull over. I don't even know where I am.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time, man. I really do.
It's a red carpet in across the street, something, man. I just stopped to get some gas and water and call,
That's great. Well, I know the fans appreciate it. We all appreciate it. And piggybacking a little off what Chuck said, I know I appreciate it. And anyone that hasn't checked it out, check out his YouTube. Trey Thomas has some great trench talk videos breaking down a lot of these offensive linemen. And,
okay.
Great questions,
Hold
Chuck.
on, thank you. But let me show you this too. I want y'all to go back and watch the trench talk where I talked about pass rush. I want you that layer cake.
Yeah.
That right there. I when I go back and I watch it, I'm like, man, I wish people really understood what I was talking. Really watch that and go back and see. When it comes to pass rush and understanding, if as a defensive-minded coach, if you understand the slide side and man side, how you can attack a defense. I really want people to kind of go back and watch that because, man, like when I was breaking it down and talking about it, I'm like, man, I love talking pass rush. I love talking defense, especially like that. But, man, I don't think people really understood it because I was showing a lot of New Orleans. But, man, if you go back and you look at it and look at how they layered their rushes, then you can kind of see how, as a defensive-minded coach, you can attack offense if you understand protection. But, go ahead, my man.
No, that's great. And I think everyone should definitely check it out because he really breaks it down and makes you understand, for a lot of people that don't watch tape, Chuck's asked some really great questions there. And, Trey, we appreciate what you bring to the table. And, I'm someone that has followed you for a long time growing up, watching you. You and John were huge. I told you before on Twitter one time that I followed you because my father loved you, man. Even when you changed your name, you went by your real name, William. He thought that was huge because that was, his name. So it was awesome. But you're always a hero to me, man. And now you're doing this, man. It really brings joy to my heart. So thank you for that. But one of the questions I do have about one of the tapes I watched, I loved what you said about Dillard. Him keeping his arms down a little, needs to work on that. But what do you think? I know during your Matt Pryor video, you really like his handwork. What do you see from Matt Pryor? Are you confident that he's going to come in and take this starting job? And what are some of the things that you think he should work on?
Man, when I would work for Matt Pryor, when I went back and I watched the film, and when I first watched it originally, I didn't think he played that well. I kind of was like, all right, yeah, he got in. It was all right. But when I really sat down and broke the film down and really looked at that Seattle game again, and then went back and watched that New York game again, man, I really was impressed with the way he attacked the game. I mean, he did an excellent job with shooting hands, taking that proper set. When you go back and you watch him, when you look at some guards sometimes, one of the things you see, especially if it's a guard that played tackle, they kind of set back a little too much. You know what I'm saying? And which kind of creates, if they get a little bit more vertical than they should. At a guard, you should set at a 45 because you're going to have your contact is at you a lot quicker. So you want to be able to take a good set and shoot your hands. And what I saw from Matt Pryor is someone that came out there, never overset his guy, always took a nice 45 set, shot his hands when he needed to, and he was aggressive. He didn't go out there and catch. And then I don't think people really understand how big a deal that New York game was for him because that was a road game. And for our offense, you have to be the right guard is the one that's starting the cadence. So that means that you have to look back at the court. You have to take a peek at what the defense is presenting. Listen to what Kelsey say. Look back at Carson Wentz and wait for his leg to rise. Then you have to tap the center and get back into position. And sometimes you're blocking your responsibilities on the fly. So that was a huge game for him just to kind of get that under his belt. So now you gotta, that's not something that you're gonna have to. Even though this year, when you don't have fans in the stands, you don't know what the fans are gonna be. It still might get a little loud where you might have to go, all right, hey, and you might want to go silent count a little bit more, just so that you're not tipping your hand to the defense all the time, especially if there's no crowd noise.
Very true. Very true. And I loved the video because you actually seemed pretty ecstatic about it, talking about Matt Pryor and talking about his handwork and stuff. So that was definitely a question I wanted to ask. But I do want to ask some other questions as a fan of yours for a long time. This is just something personal I wanted to ask. After spending 11 years here, we all loved you. What happened that you went to Jacksonville? Was that a mutual thing? Like, did they kind of just not want to give you the amount of money you wanted, or were you just trying to get a vacation for the end of your career, or what exactly happened there?
I played out both my contracts here. I signed a 6-year deal my rookie year and a 5. I don't even know which one it was. It was whatever it was. It equaled 11 years. So what I'm saying, like I played out both my contracts. That was it. You know what I'm saying? Like it wasn't like a big negotiation thing or whatever. I don't know. My agent probably was talking to him or whatever. But then I went to Florida. And it was like, it was no, I didn't have a conversation with him about it. It was cool. I played out my years and it was just time to go. And so, and I knew that moment was here because that was the same year that B-Dot got released. When I saw that Dot was released, I was like, oh man, yeah, we're gone. And the Runyon, we were all gone. So, I mean, it wasn't anything. It wasn't anything spiteful, a big argument or debate or I want more or this or that. It was just time, and it was not a problem. And I went to Jacksonville and was just like, all right, you know what? I'm really ready to retire. This is it, because once you played for this city for so long and felt that energy and love, it was just hard for me to go somewhere else and kind of try to, do it again. I was just kind of like, all right, that's it. I'm done. So I went to Jacksonville and bought a boat and was chilling, really wasn't, trying to help Eugene Chung along. I mean, not Eugene Chung, Monroe. Man, I can't think of his last name. But anyway, yeah, I was helping Monroe around. But yeah, man, so it was time. It was time.
Yeah, and that makes sense. And I figured it was something like that. But I know when I was younger that it broke my heart. And, people talk about Dawkins in another jersey. I don't care, man. Seeing you in a Jacksonville jersey, it crushed me. And when you're younger, you don't really know anything about what's really going on. So it always broke my heart. But I thought that'd be something I've always wanted to ask you. So it was always love from us, man. We never, ever had any kind of hate for you, So
all right, appreciate
always
that.
mad love. Now, you've played with, for my last question, you've played with some pretty awesome running backs in the Philadelphia court. Now, Who do you think? This is a rough topic around these parts. People get heated about it, but we love it. Who in your mind is the greatest Eagles running back of all time?
Oh man, of all time. Man, I don't know.
Montgomery, Westbrook, or McCoy?
Because I played with B West, so I can't go anybody else. I mean, B West is my guy. That's who I played with. But man, I tell you what, boy, Shady was something special, man. You know what I'm saying? Like for somebody, and you go back and you watch some Shady film, man, and people always like we're doing the Chip Kelly era. Why was he, not hitting a hole or whatever it was? Man, there were times that he had to play that way. He had to be shaky. Man, I posted this one video of Shady against San Diego. This is my absolutely the bet. Anytime I think of Shady runs, I go back to this video, and it's against San Diego at home. And man, Shady, we were down in the end zone. We were backed up. I think we were like on the 1-2 yard line. Evan Mathis misses block. He didn't get to the safety. Shady shook maybe about 4 or 5. He made like a 4-yard gain look like it was the best run I had ever seen. We were dead to rights for a safety, and I mean Shady got out of that, put his foot down, hit him with a spin, and it was just one more guy that he couldn't get by. And I was just like, man, that guy right there is something special. But I think, man, it was just with B West though, man. That's what I played with. That's who I went to battle with. I got to go B West.
That's more than understandable. I mean, and not many people remind me of Barry Sanders, but LeSean McCoy has some of those runs where it's like he makes something out of nothing. So he was phenomenal, but I'm in the same boat. I grew up watching B West. That's my guy. I also think that is the greatest. So I'm with you on that. Trey, thank you so much for letting me ask you those questions, man.
Yeah, man, no problem.
All right, Steve.
Yeah, man. All right. Well, I mean, the guys kind of ripped through a lot of stuff, and we'd already touched on a lot of things. I'm kind of going to go along the lines with what Jimmy was talking about. You played with a lot of great guys in the city. Played against a lot of great guys. Who do you think is the next Philadelphia Hall of Famer, regardless of?
I think Ertz is gonna get it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, just for his career, he's had a hell of a career. Just what he's done here, and I think Carson Wentz definitely has the potential to be that guy, being the quarterback, the leader that he is. If he can get out there and put some wins together and get through this thing, I think he can end up being that.
My man.
Yeah, Carson is definitely one of these guys who I think could definitely be a Hall of Famer if he continued along the trend he is. For me, like as far as like Hall of Fame status, I mean, there's some guys he played with. Donnie, somebody I think gets in there within 10 years or so. It's just a matter of what he gets in. There's some guys that even played for the city who probably weren't here that long that don't get the love they deserve publicly. Like Asante Samuel, he probably should be somebody who makes it into the next 5 years.
True.
Oh, you're talking about like that? I thought you were talking about guys that's on the team now. Oh yeah, I definitely think 5 years in that. That he's put up there. And definitely I want to see somebody that I went out there and help produce that. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people, they put out all these lists like, oh man, they did this, they did that, whatever. And I'm like, look, I don't care what my ranking is, dog. Look at, just because my name isn't in that record book, when you see 5 name in there, my name in there. When you see Westbrook name in there, my name in there. You know what I'm saying? Even when you see David Akers scoring record in there, my name in there.
That's
you
right.
Know what I'm saying? So I don't care about rankings. Look at how I presented on the record books for this organization.
Love it.
That is awesome.
Yeah, man.
When you go back and you look at that, look what we done.
Made my childhood great.
Damn all that. Look at my record. Look, check my resume.
Love it, man.
Preach it.
Yeah. And keeping the lamps going, Trey, man, I had to ask you, when you were doing the freaking Manscaped videos for 97.5, how could you keep a straight face doing that? I was dying in the car, I had to pull over.
Okay, so with the Manscaped commercials, man, they told me, they were like, listen, man, they're like, all right, this company, they was like, Trey, you got to, because I had already done a Blue Chew commercial. So when we were talking about the chewable Viagra, so I got a little wild with those commercials. So Manscaped came to the station. They were like, "Listen, man, we need somebody to do a read for it, but here's the read." And and so they were like, "Well, you know what? I think we got the right person for you." And so Manscaped listened to one of my Blue Chew reads and were like, "Yeah, all right, let's do it." So I started writing a couple of my commercials, and then they were like, "All right, you know what? We want you to go as far as you can without getting kicked off the air." And I was like, "All right, cool." And, and then it just got out of that. I would look up stuff and be Googling something. All right, I want to do this. I want to come with this. And come with this different timing and all of that. So by the time I read it, I would have gone through it so many times. I remember one time, like when I did the which one was it? The Himalayan salt cave one, where the missus came home and I had all of this weird music playing all loud throughout the house with all this, where they had the salt crystals, and I'm trying to find the right tune that I can use for this career. And then my wife was like, "What the hell are you doing?" So she walks in the house and all this chiming and I mean, I'm like, "All right, babe." And she kind of looked at me a little weird. And then when I did the "Do You Shave What I Shave," I had a lot of Christmas music playing so that I can find the right track to that one. So yeah, man, I the Manscaped reads, they were fun, man. And I liked it because it was able to, because I didn't go to school for this. Like, doing radio was so awesome. It was a lot of fun, man. But that was just one of the things where what I like about radio is just the ability to show your personality. And as a player, you never really got a chance to do that because my mind was just on something totally different as a player. But when I started doing radio, I wanted to make sure it was fun, something I enjoyed doing. I didn't want it to feel like I was going to work. And if I had the opportunity to make somebody look at their radio like, "What?" Because you don't have a visual. All you hear is my voice. So I want to be able to paint a picture to make you look at the radio, and it creates something. Because then now you'll think about it like, Manscaped. And that's, I think, what the point of commercials are. So I don't know, man. It was fun. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, man. It was one of the things like I always loved it. Like, and you touched on it too. Like radio, you guys don't really get as players to kind of show your personality, show who you are. And it's one of the things I like about Philadelphia Sports Radio is that we have a lot of our former athletes on air, kind of giving their thoughts, showing us who they are as people besides who they were on the field, on the court, etc.
Yeah, man. I think it adds to it, man, and that's why it's a lot of fun, And I like to teach. I like to show people this game. If I can help people understand this game, because I think the fan base really want to understand the game, and that's why I try to tell people, like, when you watch my videos, it's not for the casual viewer. You know what I'm saying? And I don't try to make it for the casual viewer, but I want to make sure that I explain it to you so that you understand. And it's the building blocks, because then we start talking man protection, slide protection. Then I'm going to start moving in. My next tape is going to be inside zone versus outside zone.
Yes.
And when you should implement black over. You know what I'm saying? And just kind of go through the responsibilities of that. Because I've done a lot of videos and I'm like, all right, it was inside zone here. You had a B here. And I know people understand it because I draw it out, but I want to really explain it so that, because almost by the time the season hit, people really understand the game and can watch it and really enjoy it.
I'm excited for that one then.
Yeah, right.
It's one of the things I really do.
I already got the notifications on. I'll be good, man.
Because then when we start talking, then because you'll start understanding why the center points at the Mike linebacker, why they're declaring that guy, what all happens there, because we saw it's building blocks. It's building blocks.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man, it's one of the things that I think a lot of the Philadelphia fan base truly enjoys is because we don't really have these opportunities through whatever means to be educated in that way, and you have this platform that you've built, and you're giving back to these fans who've given to you. So it's one of these things. Yeah. Like at least here on ATD, I know I can speak for these guys. We're already tuned in, man. So
cool.
We're gonna be looking forward to the sure.
Yeah, and then
one last thing.
I want to talk to my agent at some point, though, because I want to start doing something where we can get together and watch a game, you know what I'm saying, and sit down, and then we can really get into it.
Yeah,
absolutely. I can show you how I can break it down, because
kind of like
it gets a little weird.
That's like a fight companion, and like I guess it would be kind of cool to do like a you guys break it down either live games or like kind of like Monday morning quarterback and kind of break it down the game film.
Well, I got to show
Would
you
be
how
cool.
we watch the game first.
I like
Right.
watching
So, yeah, I
during the
watch the
game.
game
That's
first. How we
what.
watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm,
And then we go back and break it down. You know what I'm saying? Because
Mhm.
then now we have a lot of notes. You know,
Yeah.
and you're gonna need multiple colored pens. You're gonna need a stopwatch. You see
Mhm.
what I'm saying? So when I watch the game, it's a process. You know,
Right.
so I show you a way. I will show you the way.
All right.
Yeah, man.
I'll stand that, baby.
Absolutely.
That'll go right into my, and that'll go right into my last one, man. You know, is there going to be any chance of us seeing you in like a major, sports radio market, like with you doing Trench Talk? You know, you have guys like Seth Jordan. He's kind of gone off and started his own show. You're kind of just talking about a project that you want to work on. What could we possibly see you do?
I don't know, man. Right now, I'm just letting it, just letting it come to me right now. Right now, I just want to focus on getting my kids and get them set up, get them where they need to be, and then, we'll see where it goes. I'm going to be going up to Kansas City for training camp. Work up there to go work with Big Red for a little bit, and then, we'll just see where it all plays out.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah, but I like the broadcasting part of it just because I like educating the fan base.
Mm-hmm.
We appreciate
Mhm.
it.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously,
It's definitely something we appreciate. Right. That's probably it for all my questions. Before I give it back to Jake and have him wrap you up. Thanks for your time this evening and this afternoon rather, and really looking forward to what you're going to be pushing out for Trench Talk. And let's kind of as the season kind of moves along, let's kind of bring it back and get you back on here and talk some more football.
I'll think about it.
that's great.
All right, man.
You can test us on your Trench Talk, man.
Absolutely.
yeah. All right, cool.
All right,
man.
Trey, we really appreciate your time for coming on. We really appreciate it.
For sure.
All right, man. I'm about to get back on this road, man. Turn back up my
Drive
classic
safe,
rock,
man.
dude.
Yeah, be safe.
Yeah,
It's
be
a-
safe, Trey.
It's a nice classic rock wherever. It's a nice classic rock station wherever I am.
Call if you need us, man.
All right, man. Y'all take care, man. Have a good one.
All right,
No
you too.
problem.
Be safe.
Take care, man.
Yo.
All right, so that was Trey Thomas.
That was awesome.
That was a lot of fun.
That was dope.
Oh man, he is awesome.
He's
Yeah.
a really cool guy. Absolutely.
Yeah, he's one of those guys who has a personality that's very it's very what you call it, it's very upbeat and
Yeah.
even when in his breakdown videos, he's not a boring voice. Like I know
Right.
when I watch a lot of their analysts do their videos, they may be insightful, but sometimes their tone of voice and the way they say things is kind of boring.
Right.
It'll put me to sleep sometimes. But no, with Trey, he's very very active, very lively. Yeah, he's very lively voice, and he's really friendly. So it was great to have him on. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Actually, you dropped a nice little tidbit of information on us and going out to KC for training.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, what's that?
Maybe we
Yes,
can get him.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the things one of the reasons why I reached out to have him on is because he has that type of personality. It's it's a really easy conversation for all of us. Another reason why I'm glad that Chucks came on because I know how much Chucks loves breaking down videos. He was probably like a kid at the candy store waiting for this one.
I was when he asked me, he was getting ready to ask me the question. I'm like, oh crap! Like
I was waiting for my test question. I was like, all right, here we go. I was like, oh,
I was like, all right, I wasn't prepared to be
you did good, man. That was a dream come true. I was like, oh, please ask me a question. That's awesome, man.
Like you guys know when you watch it, like that's one of the things. Almost in every video, he talks about slide protection. He cements that in you, so it's like you see it in every video for like the 5th time in a row, and you're like, all right, I'm pretty sure I got this down.
I wanted to bring up knee braces. That's something he's always very emphatic about that. And like you guys just mentioned, like he's great, and he talked about using his voice because he comes from radio. So when he does these Trench Talk videos, he really knows how. Like Chuck just said, like he makes you like enjoy the video because. I kind of mentioned it with my question, Matt Pryor, he seemed kind of excited about it. So it made me excited to watch the video because he's like, oh, you know what? Look at him here. Oh, he's using the hands. All right, now he's sliding. And you're like, that makes me excited, man. I loved it. Good job getting him on, man. Thanks for letting me be a part of that.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. But obviously, we're not wrapping up just yet.
No doubt.
But obviously after, and we didn't really get into it because Trey kind of surprised us coming in a little early.
Yeah, that was
But
awesome.
no issue at all. But
Yeah.
Yeah, not at all.
but obviously after Trey kind of delved into the offensive line a little bit, how do you guys feel a little more reassured, or how do you guys kind of feel after having Trey on?
Well, I mean, I think that his sentiments, because he did say like there is an issue with depth. I think if you're going off of what like what's proven, there are questions because there's really nothing that's proven behind our starters. Now we all can agree or disagree. Like we all have our projections on the young guys like Driscoll or even Mailata or some of the other guys, Dillard. These are all young guys, and we all have our thoughts, our opinions, and they're all warranted, and we have a right to. But at the same time, they are what they are. They're projections. We don't know for sure, so they're all question marks. And so that's why, like, to the poll, like, you definitely there is I don't want to say like there's a concern or like it's a huge issue. It's just a question mark because we don't know. No one knows for sure. All these young guys could pan out to be, really good players, and we're fine. But until we actually see that happen and see what they can do on the field, we just don't know. So that's it's more of like a wait and
that's the other
see kind of.
because we're also still in this limbo pandemic kind of situation. So we haven't really been able to see them kind of work with the team, have any kind of dialogue about how they're doing or anything like that. So we're kind of in this state of flux, like what is going on?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, 100% right.
And last, we talk about this every time before I make a show because you guys all know you're gonna get the fans coming on like, oh, well, we have it on. It's like, no. I said at the beginning, take this all with a grain of salt. Just like Trey just sat here and said, we can watch video, we can break things down, but it really doesn't matter. This is college. It doesn't. Great, you're in the NFL now, whole new ball game. So we can tell you what we've seen, and that's all we're doing here, man. We're just giving you guys something to go with because, just like he said, grain of salt, take it all with a grain of salt. And thank you, Pronger's best friend, for that. And just like John said, I think we can all agree. I disagree with the poll because I don't feel good about the depth. I like Matt Pryor at right guard. I'm confident in Dillard. I think that you guys know, I think JP should be there just as insurance because behind it, it's very questionable. Mailata, I like Prince Tagovailoa, but no off season. So is he going to be ready? No, probably not. Driscoll, is he going to be able to provide depth there at inside? I love what Trey said because it made me feel good, to your question, how do I feel? It makes me feel good because a lot of things we've been talking about the last couple of weeks, that's what we've been saying. So it's like, we see where we stand. Let's just hope that these kids do pan out.
Yeah, that's going to be the big question, right? And obviously, we talked about it yesterday on Jimmy's show. If you guys haven't seen it, check it out on the road to victory. Yesterday, we had a conversation about the running back depth as well. And after Miles Sanders, it's kind of a question mark. Obviously, we're not taking shots at Boston Scott and stuff like that. We appreciate everything he did, but it's just one of those things where after Miles Sanders, can you really rely on Boston Scott and some of these undrafted guys to really carry the load? That's kind of the same thing with this offensive line. After some of your starters go down, it's what do you have?
It's the same problem we were in last season when we talk about both of these positions. And as soon as you get an injury, there's no one to pick up the slack. Whether it's underdevelopment at these positions, whether it's bad draftings at these positions, whether we're losing free agents during the offseason, you haven't replaced the reliable backup. The days of Big V are gone. He's in another team, so you can't rely on him. You're going to have to do something, and they addressed some of it in this draft, going to get some young offensive linemen. We'll have to see how they pan out. Hopefully, we do get a guy like a Big V out of this draft. Hopefully.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and that's a good point. A guy that, can play guard and tackle. You mentioned a guy like Big V. So we hope that guys like Driscoll and Prince, and I love what Trey said, you see Prince more of that swing tackle. Tucker with the shorter arms, I think he plays more of a guard position. So, very questionable. We hope, that keeps being the word here. We hope that they turn into that, but it's like you don't really want to go into a season when you're a team that's dealt with so many injuries, especially when you lose your all-pro right guard before the damn season starts. So,
Yeah, and we might as well talk about this now with Eagles Champs comment. Rumors are going around that Jadeveon Clowney, before the show, wants to play according to John Clayton for the Eagles. But and me and Ralphie talked about it pre-show, and I think me and Jimmy talked about it as well. Is that it's kind of how the market's fallen right now. No one's really interested per se. I mean, obviously he had something from the Seahawks and whatever, but
regardless of injury history, regardless of what he's done against us in the past, if it's at the right price, why not?
Yeah, absolutely. But
you have to think about the one thing we don't. There's never enough guys to rush the quarterback on your team in this league. There's never enough. If you're able to kind of bring this guy in for a steal, even if it's just for a year, do it. At the worst case scenario, you cut him, you trade him, whatever. It doesn't work.
Now, obviously, that being said, say theoretically we do sign him. What would you sign him for? Would it be a 1 year, multi-year?
It would have to be around the ballpark of like 8.
Okay.
I'm not going over 10.
I think the market was 10 to 12 before, so I agree with him. I think you got to go below 10 now, around like an 8. But I don't know. Yeah. Obviously, we have some cap issues where it's 50 million rolls over, but you know how he's a magician. He can put things on the back end, whatever. So, but I think in the long run, you would probably, if it's someone like him, you'd only give him a 1 year deal. You don't really know what kind of production or health he's going to, bring to the table here. I wouldn't be against it. You guys know that I'm all about, I'm more of a Everson Griffin fan. But hey, if he's taking money that's now coming down, and for the right price, man, you can't be against, like Steven said. I mean, that's how you win a Super Bowl, man. Get to the quarterback. So I'd be for it.
Yeah, 1 year. As long as it's a 1 year deal and it's under 10. I agree with Steve. So, I mean, I'm not in any rush to sign him, but hey, if he comes for 1 year, 8 mil less, it's, why not? And you just go.
I'm with you there, Chuck. I'm not picking up the phone to call him. You want to come play here? Your age, go give us a call. Let's call. Yeah,
and it is definitely not anything more than 1 year. Absolutely not. Because, we that's the one thing with the salary cap we got to understand. And I think I said this on your show when I was on, Jimmy, is that people see how he has a history of moving and restructuring contracts to the back end. Well, that only goes
comes back
so long. You eventually have to pay that money, and that eventually has to come off the cap. It's not. Right. It annoys me when fans, not saying you, Jimmy, but fans in general.
I don't think you should never at all do that.
They're like, no, don't worry about the cap. How we will always figure out something. Well, no, you should worry about the cap because no matter what, it has to be paid. And so if you look beyond this season, we are negative 50 under the cap and even more. And a lot of it has to go to Carson Wentz and his contract ballooning up. It's going to increase significantly. And we have a lot of cap tied into veteran and aging pleplayers that we're going to have to make a decision on. So the cap
is if you don't hit on these guys now, while you have this ability with him in that smaller price range of the contract, it's going to hurt you in the next 2 or 3 years because you're not going to be able to make any moves.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to be able to make the trade. You're not going to be able to do that because you're going to be strapped.
Well, like Chuck just said, it comes back to haunt you. Well, this is that. Next year's that year when you get 50 million over. So you don't want to be. That's why I said, for the people saying that, if anything, it'd be 1 year. But I'm more on the train of an Everson Griffin for $5 million or less, something like that. But I'm just saying, I'm not going to sit here if we get Jadeveon Clowney and be like, damn it. Like, I think he's an ass for taking a cheap shot on my quarterback, like Ted says here. And he talks some trash, so he can kiss my ass for now. But if you put on that Eagles green, I change my tune, man.
We all gonna rip him for running his mouth about the city. As soon as he rips one of them quarterbacks to the ground, it's a whole other story.
Put on that Eagles green, you're part of the brotherhood. So
yeah. And obviously, just our last topic before we wrap up. Obviously, we talked about it at the beginning of the show. With it being reported that some of the leagues and teams are considering having fans at 25% capacity. Obviously, with everything going on, do you think that's a possibility for this season?
Who wants to start that one?
My. Yeah, right.
We talked about this last night.
It's okay. It's tough. I'm not going to come out and say that I know for certain what's going to happen because honestly, I have no clue. I don't think anyone has a clue. And the truth is, not even the players have a clue about what's going to happen. Players have been coming out and saying we don't know what's going on, and bashing the owners and the league. So like no one knows what's gonna happen. If I'm gonna go off my gut instinct, I'm gonna say it's going to be limited fans. I think I'm gonna and I would only hope that if it's limited fans, all the precautions are in place. They have to be distant, so all the seating is going to be spread out. They have to wear masks. All that they have to be tested upon entry. All the precautions, because you really can't risk anything going forward, especially with large groups of people like that. But again, like I said at the beginning, I don't know. I have no clue what's going to happen, and really no one does. And that's kind of the scary thing is we're this close now to August. And no one has any idea for certain how things are going to play out. So we'll see.
Yeah, and I'm kind of the same sentiment. And like Jimmy said, we talked about it a lot yesterday. Me and Frank touched on it as well. It's one of those things where obviously you have like your privacy suites. So I think you can get something done with that. Like obviously once the game's over, they can get a thing to where, all right, this suite goes out, then that suite, and so on. And obviously you have the upper bowl of the stadium too, where there's a bunch of seats, so you can spread people out that way. But it's good. It's really going to be interesting once August rolls around and like the season gets closer and closer.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean the other thing is like how would a family go about going to a football game? Because it's not like how hard is it going to be to buy an entire section out,
Right?
Or an entire row out? It's not. It's going to be interesting to see how a lot of that works,
Great point. Great point.
But I think, and another thing is like at some point you have to realize like Chuck, you're sitting there saying like a test upon entry. You may have the NFL go a step further. You may have to come to the stadium with a paper saying that you've tested in the last 14 days.
Right.
I mean, you don't know. You don't know what they're going to do. You don't know what the league's going to do, what the players are going to do, what the owners are going to do. We're in a situation where we all know they want fans in the stands, not just on the money side of things. It's football without fans is going to be really weird.
Right.
Like we've already seen it with a bunch of other sports already. We've seen it with wrestling and MMA and stuff like that. And Trey kind of spoke on it was like we were talking about when the plays are being called. You may see a whole lot of silent stuff if there is no fans this season.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
And it really will come down to who's the smartest football brains, and not just if you can play it out like that.
Well, that's the thing. Like, it's going to be really scary because you have to rely on everyone being smart. Steven said they might take it to the steps where you're getting a 14-day notice, but can we trust people not tailgating, not doing things? But, maybe they'll do packages where like a family you've been quarantined with can go and like little things like that. But you would hope that, I think Greg said 25%. That's something we talked about last night, like a limited capacity, and that'd be a good idea. And they want money if people are doing it right, if you're wearing the mask, if you're putting all the procedures in place, because all it takes is one screw up. You get one of these players, everybody spreads it, and then it's all gone. So it's scary to even think about that.
But I don't even think the players spreading it wouldn't be the bigger issue.
No, I don't think so. But that's why you got to worry about the fans, and that's the whole issue.
The fans are bringing it into the stadiums and etc. That'll probably be the bigger issue of spreading it
for sure. That's you got to worry about the fans giving it to people. Exactly. Yeah. So it's always it comes down to the fans here, and I think you'll definitely have media people allowed there, but if it gets like how basketball is with teams, the Nuggets, like people getting slammed. We got to be careful here. You don't know if they're going to put these guys in bubbles. And, someone mentioned it's 18 days away from when we're supposed to be starting. And I think it was Richard Sherman, Chuck's mentioned that some of these players are calling them out like, oh, that's great. Like they're talking about they've got answers. Well, we didn't get any answers because we have literally no idea what's going on. So it's pretty scary, man. I really have no idea. I'm not a doctor. It looks scary because numbers are going up everywhere. If everybody wears their damn mask like Steven has, get yourself an HUD mask from PhillyDrinkers.com. Hook yourself up, wear your damn mask, protect each other, social distance, wash your damn hands. Let's do this, get rid of it. So we can hope, man. I need football back. I'll lose my mind without it.
Yeah, I think we all will. Chuck's won't have to watch out. Everyone's going to be sad.
Having a winter without football will probably be a top off to one of the most depressing years of our memory.
Absolutely.
I would have to say that without any doubt.
Absolutely.
this is also me. I'm a big combat sports guy, so I haven't been deprived of any real big fights or anything like that. So, like in my mind, like,
Right.
hey, I'm still a poor guy, but at the end of the day, I still have something to kind of bank on right now. But here we are. We're getting ready for hockey to kind of kick back off. The NBA's getting ready to go. The NFL's getting ready to start opening training camp. We're within 2 weeks here. Just make sure everybody dots their I's, cross their T's, and make sure there ain't no more hiccups, because us as a sports media company, anything, we can't take it no more. We need the real thing.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Boys, do you have anything else before we wrap up here?
Thanks again for having me on, Trey.
Oh, yeah,
That was
absolutely.
awesome.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Come on, man.
Well, you guys are always
at the
welcome
end
on
of
my
the
show.
day,
Too.
we make today's show, just about as much fun as it always is.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's one of these things, man. Like, when you get a guy like that to come on, it's just about to have fun. Yes, he was here to educate us. Yes, he was here to educate the fans as well. But at the same time, we're all just having fun, having a conversation. At the end of the day,
Yep.
we just have the pleasure of talking to a former athlete who's extremely knowledgeable in the situation.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully, he gave some insight to everybody. Hopefully, everyone took a little something out of it. Chuck's got his first test of the day, so
Loved it. I loved that, man. That was awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
I
as
was glad
always-
that Chuck's is the one that got it, because I know that.
Chuck's aced it.
I thought we were all getting test questions after that. I was like, oh boy, here we go.
Oh, come on, Greg. It's got to be Masterball. Love Usman to death, but we got to go with Masterball here. Come on.
But as always, guys, we really do appreciate you coming on. We hope we can kind of get you away from all the craziness that's going on in the world right now, just to kind of get you away, have a conversation with us, obviously, like we had with Trey earlier, who was great. But we're not the only show. We have shows all throughout the week. You can check out Chuck on Birds with Feather on Tuesday nights, and as well as Jimmy's show on Friday nights here on A2D. So we got guys talking about everything, got great shows on the platform. And as always, a word from our sponsor. We are brought to you by our doc, Make 'em Yours, Dr. Paul Vidal, SpecializedPhysicalTherapy.com. Find them on the web, SpecializedPhysicalTherapy.com, Burlington, Cherry Hill, and Princeton, New Jersey locations, as well as we are brought to you by AmbuckServices.com, AMBUCK Services.com. Call Michael Ambrose, tell him A2D sent you. Get yourself 20% off gutter guards, gutter cleaning, deck restoration, anything you need done outside your house, they got you covered. The website is AmbuckServices.com, AMBUCK Services.com. As always, Jake Friel, Steve Reichel. Wow, I got it the first time. Jimmy Smith, right down there. Chuck Moran, right over there. We really do appreciate you guys coming on.
Thanks
Great
again.
interview, great conversation. Yeah, absolutely. And guys, have a great day. Be safe. Wear your masks. Don't be stupid. And we'll check you guys back next week on another episode of the Weekly Roundup. Later, guys.
Stay safe, gentlemen.
Go Birds.